Hi everyone, we have a Summit project presentation called Streamlining Medical Record Completion. Presenting for you today is Sue Huntington. Sue, please go ahead.
Thank you, Matt. This project was part of a three-phase complicated project, I would say. And the first phase, by the end of November 2014, we had scanned and were scanning our inpatient ambulatory endoscopy and observation records into OnBase. And at that point, we were still sending parts of records to the providers for their completion. Those parts would have to come back to us and we would rescan them. And then we check the records and do what's called the final check. And this workflow was not ideal. The ultimate workflow would remove all of that paper going back and forth, and it would improve our process. So after a hiatus of time, the project resumed with an upgrade to OnBase, and our third phase began in January of 2018, and it included building the product, the workflow, designing it, and then testing the functionality. And this performance improvement project will focus on record completion workflow, which went live in June of 2019. So our first objective was to minimize scanning, rework, and paper processes as much as possible. Our second was to develop user-friendly workflow that would allow two-way communication and also a way for the providers to complete their records and for the clerical support staff to do really an electronic reanalysis phase or a final check. And by doing this, we would drive down and maintain timely overall record completion, and only a goal of 10% of the discharges would be greater than 30 days and still incomplete. And really the best practice in this area is to only have 10% of your records older than 30 days. And if you look at the graph, you can see that we kind of went up in July, right after we went live, because we were going through the training. And then we came down in August, and by the end of the year, we were at a 5%, which means only 5% of the records were still incomplete after 30 days. And that's really good. The goal was 10%. So I can say that for the first 2 quarters of 2020, we have remained at 5%. So that's a good trend. We also, in the process of going live with the product, we cleaned up our backlog of final check records, and that was a clerical kind of a mini performance improvement that we did within this. And that went well, and all those could be shredded. And in the process of doing all of this, we got rid of a lot of records. A lot of paper records were totally electronic. So the domains of quality that were addressed, safe records are available for patient care, complete records sooner. The records are complete within 30 days. We went over that. More of our records are complete within 30 days, timely, efficient. We're using technology to streamline the process, effective. The 5% that we've maintained, that is an effective use of technology, showing that we are complying with record completion requirements, equitable. During this, we did allow, or I guess enable, 2 different ways of completing records for the medical staff. They can use something called autoplay, which is like watching a video on or a YouTube, where you're watching all the incomplete elements of the record go across the screen, and then at the end you sign off. Or they can use the standard functionality where they kind of control how quickly they're working on each of their records. It was person-centered, both for the staff in HIM, the clerical and the coding staff have work queues, and it really didn't take more than a couple of months before the HIM staff really were very wowed with this system, because it really, they don't have to walk anywhere to deliver records and pick them up and make phone calls, and all that extra work just went away, and they enjoy it more. And I believe for the most part the providers also do, because they have really improved their turnaround time, and they can complete their records in many different locations. They can do it from home using Citrix. They don't have to rely on paper parts and that kind of thing. So I feel like that was a good accomplishment. And as far as our Plan, Do, Check, Act elements, the plan with this component of the project was really that we had already built and tested the product, and we had communicated with the medical staff. We developed our training materials. We trained the clerical, the coders, and the providers, and communicated the go live, and then we identified any individuals that needed specific assistance. And it was really a boots on the ground kind of thing. If somebody was having trouble, we deployed a group of IT and HIM people, staff, to go to the providers and work with them to identify, you know, what was going on, that they were having difficulties, so that we could correct it. Very important to be agile, need to get these things taken care of right away, and then being able to go back and address with the vendors anything that really that they would need to help us with. And what it's done for us, we've been able to reduce, at this point, 2 clerical FTE positions, and we are working on additional opportunities within this product to batch scan our discharges where it can identify via barcode exactly where those reports belong in the electronic record. There are tabs on the top of this product. It's a product that Highland supports, and it's called OnBase, and it identifies the type of documents, whether they're history and physicals, discharge summaries, and so on. And there's a lot of filter capabilities. It's very powerful product, actually. And we will streamline that. We also have implemented some software for our clinical documentation integrity folks, and that they are working on their queries where they ask physicians and providers questions to get better documentation or to clarify documentation. And they are currently, as we speak, working on that, and those queries go into the OnBase product. They are completed electronically as well. So once we get those 2 yellow boxes on this Summit project taken care of, we'll even be in better shape. And in summary, our conclusions and lessons learned, change is definitely difficult for many people. And also some people really embrace change. So you're dealing with a lot of different types of people and needs. So be patient, be flexible as much as possible. We were asked to, I think I mentioned, leave the Meditech signing functionality on for a period of time so that they would gain confidence in the OnBase product, and we did that. I think that was helpful. It at least bridged that gap of trust, and we got through it that way. We set expectations for everyone, administration, the staff, the providers, and I think at one point I felt like maybe the providers thought they were the only ones learning something new, but it was our entire clerical staff and all of the coding team too had to learn new functionality. but we let everybody know that there will be bumps, but we felt that we minimized the bumps and we got through it. It took about 3 months to really drive this project into what I considered a final live functional status, and ask for help from the end users. We really encouraged them to let us know what was going on, because that's really the only way you can fix things, is for them to communicate. And also, some of them have really good ideas, and their ideas were helpful. And I mentioned, when issues are discovered, you really need to be agile and react and resolve those quickly. A well-supported process for deploying electronic record functionality for our medical staff is needed. That I felt was difficult, because there are a lot of people who are very busy people who now need to learn something different. I wasn't clear on how it's been done throughout the organization consistently, or if there was a way at all. And I do believe we have addressed that with some super user and or maybe lead people helping some of the future projects that we're now working on. Competing priorities, definitely finite resources. So what that means is stalled projects, which is particularly difficult. In this case, I think it was twice stalled. And when you have people from your vendor folks that have learned your hospital, learned your system, and they are called off your project, that's very painful. And not to mention, you know, even the department looking forward to this change for a very long time. So that's something that I think we need to learn from as well. And that's really the summary of this project. I'd be happy to answer any questions anyone has, or help anyone who might be going through a similar project if you want to reach out to me.
Okay, thank you, Sue. Yeah, you can definitely see measurable results of showing improvement. Great job by your team. What is the best way to contact you if anybody has any questions?
It would be 897-2317, or my email, shuntington@adirondackhealth.org.
Okay, great. Thank you, Sue.
Thanks, Matt.